I'll be building some tables today. My daughter is looking for some tables that she can use to display her paintings at art shows. These tables need to be easy to transport. That means lightweight, collapsible, and cheap to build. Let me introduce you to my daughter before we get started. She's an educator by trade, but an artist at heart. Here's some of her work. This table is made out of pine, just dimensional for the legs and the sides, and 1/4-inch plywood for the top to keep it light. The legs stow up inside the table when it's not in use. Each of the corners underneath has a pocket. And the legs slip right up into those pockets to lock them in. And then I've got bolts with a little hand screw on those to lock the legs into the table so there's less movement when it's stationary. All right, with the price of lumber today, I thought I had to be a little more efficient here in getting my materials. So I started laying out the different components that I needed, and I thought I could use a little bit of online help. So I went to a site called, let me get down here, opticutter.com, and they've got a couple of different options for doing cutting plans, both linear as well as sheet goods. So went through this, plugged in the different components that I needed and what links were available, and it gave me a good solid list of exactly what to buy. Did the same thing. This actually does a layout on a 4x8 sheet. So with that, I went out and got the material. Between the plywood, I just used 1/4-inch sanded plywood, just pine, and then I bought select pine for the rest of it. I wanted nice straight boards and nice clear boards. Probably for the 3 tables that I've got here, just under $150 worth of materials. So I've got a 4x8 sheet here. I've got 1x4s, 4 8-footers and a couple of 6-footers. And then I've got 2x2s, and I've got 4 8-footers and 1 4-footer. So let's start cutting. All right, so we have 3 tables, 2 tall ones and 1 short one. I'm going to lay out something like this for the legs. All right, let's assemble these. All right, so the bottom of these legs are going to be a pretty simple butt connection. And I want it to be strong since these are going to be in and out every time this table gets broken down. So I'm going to use about a 3-inch screw. I'll bring it in through here. I'm going to countersink this and then put a plug in so that it looks decent. So I just need to drill a whole bunch of holes through these. So I've set up a jig here, that with a little fence that I can get consistent cuts. So I'll first drill my 1/8 inch hole as a pilot, and then I'll put a bigger drill bit in and countersink those. Right now I've got a 3/8 inch bit in here, and I'll countersink all of these. Okay, I've got these all screwed together. They're countersunk, and now I just need to put wood plugs in here. I can make my own. Let me show you. Okay, this right here is a plug cutter. So this will cut plugs all day long, 3/8 that I can use. All I need is a piece of scrap material. Now we just cut the excess plugs off, and then I'll sand these smooth. Looks good. Now I'm going to start cutting out the sides and the ends of the tabletop, and it's all coming out of 1x4. This is my cut sheet, so I'll follow this, but I'm going to cut all 3 tables all at the same time before I do anything else and do any kind of assembly. Alright, I have all the sides and the ends cut. And the next thing I'm going to do here is put a little rabbet relief in here for that top to set down into. Let me show you what I've got here. I put a dado blade in my table saw. I've set my fence at the right distance, the blade at the right height, and this is how it's going to work. This is just a test piece. But imagine this is the side of the table, and this is the top. The top will drop in like this. I'll sand it. This is a little bit proud, but this will come down when I sand it, so I'll just sand it so it's nice and flush. And that's how that top is going to be locked in. Let's take a minute and talk about joinery for this table. There's lots of different ways to do it, and you got to kind of look at the trade-offs. I mean, this is not a piece of living room furniture. At the same time, it's not a workbench for a workshop. So this table will be used indoor, outdoor, moved around, portable. And so really it needs to still look nice, but the main thing is it's got to be really strong and fairly easy to put together. So I've decided I'm going to keep it pretty simple here. I've got all these corners mitered. What I've done is just drilled holes here. I'm going to put some glue on there and clamp it, but I'm going to put screws in here to hold this thing together nice and snug. When I get to the interior pieces, I've got a piece running across here. I'll use pocket screws where I can, but certainly in this case, I'm going to surface screw these, and then just like on those legs, I'll put a wood plug in there, and so that will be visible, but pretty minimal. So let's get started putting this thing together. Alright, now that I've got this frame put together, I think I want to fit the top that drops in there before I move on and start working on the setting for the legs. So I've got this big sheet of plywood, and it's a little too big right now to handle with my table saw. So what I'll do is use the track saw to cut it down. So I've got my plywood cut to fit. It had a pretty good bow to it. When I do the final assembly on that plywood, it'll pull it tight. But in the meantime, I wanted this plywood on the bottom side here so that I could fit these legs and get them lined up. Now I just put a bar across here to push everything down and hold it in place. So the next thing that I'll do is get these legs set in. I'll get my braces in next to them, and then I'll figure out where to locate the holes in the legs to put my anchors. Now I've got my mark for drilling. Let's take a look at the system I'm going to use to anchor these things. I've got these threaded inserts, and I've got these knobs with a bolt on them, and that knob screws into that insert. So the insert will be in the leg. So what I've done is drilled a hole to match this insert. The insert has a little hex head in there. So all we need to do is get it started and anchor it in. That's locked in now. And then that ties it all together. Pocket screws to attach these leg braces. Alright, braces are in place, legs are ready to go, and then these will go right in here. But we got a little problem. I don't have enough clearance for the knob part of this bolt. I have a solution. Okay, here's where we're at. Got the bulk of this thing assembled now. You can see here's my brace. These are the knobs that just hold those legs in. Now it's just a matter of putting the top in. Alright, I've sanded the tabletop, at least for the first pass here, with 120. Let's just set it up so you can see what it looks like. And that's how it looks. I've got to do a little more sanding. I've got to knock off all of these really sharp edges. And then I'll put a couple of coats of polyurethane on there. And this will be done. And I've got two more Two of the larger tables I'm also still working on. So we'll keep going with these. Okay, so there's one more problem I want to address here before I start sanding these. My intention was to be able to have these legs drop down inside the cavity of this table just for easy storage. And these legs are, I wanted a nice snug fit, but they're just a little bit wider than this cavity. Not by much, I mean probably less than a 1/16. And they could probably be squeezed in here, but they're gonna do some damage to the finish. So all I need to do is take just a little bit off each side. So I've got this handheld power planer, and I've got it set at its shallowest setting, so I'm just going to take and skim just a little bit off the top here. Let's see if I've got enough clearance now. Oh yeah, that's great. Good, so I can store those right inside there. That's nice. All right, I've got all these sanded. Now I just want to put a good coat of poly on them. Well, more than one coat. Because these, I want them to be able to handle both indoor, outdoor. If they get caught in the rain, no big deal. So I'm going to use this Minwax product. It's designed for indoor and outdoor. And we'll see how it goes on. I think what I'll be doing is putting a coat on, and then I'll probably do a light sanding, put another coat, light sanding, and so forth. The tables are done, so let's take a look at them in use. We brought them to my daughter's studio and helped her get everything set up. This is pretty much how you would see things at an art show, except it'll be outdoors. So I hope you enjoyed this build. It was a lot of fun doing it, and we'll see you next time.